I thought I'd put this into the mix because we're talking about project management and project leadership, and this is a report that I've kind of followed for a while in terms of trends of what they anticipate being the top skills required for the workplace. So this last one was issued in about October 2020, so it's quite recent, and it talks about what they think are the most important thing in the workplace. So this isn't project management or any particular area. This is just about general trends about what they think you might need in the next 4 years' time to be to most relevant. And actually, when you compare this report against 2020, in 2020, number one was complex problem solving. So you can see that slipped down to number 3. Number 2 was coordinating with others. Was critical thinking, now number 4. And number 3 was creativity, now number 5. So analytical thinking, innovation, and active learning strategies are coming to the fore, and that's no real surprise when you think about technological advancements that we're experienced with the fourth industrial revolution. And but actually, what I find really interesting is if you go back to what they forecasted for 2015, number 1 was problem solving, complex problem solving. Number 2, though, was coordinating with others. And number 3 was people management. So you can see the trend that's moving away from managing people and what people do to actually embracing technology and looking at new ways of delivering things. And they are becoming more and more important. But nonetheless, the problem solving and the leadership piece still runs through these skills. In my opinion, at least 7 of those top skills include project leadership skills. If you think about the list that I put up on the screen earlier of communication, team leadership, conflict resolution, motivation, and crafting solutions, they appear in those 7 at least. So project leadership and project management exist now and is going to be just as important in the future. It might, the tactical delivery might change. So that bit about, the project manager managing the risk register or change control, that might start becoming more automated, and you might find more things are done through AI or machine learning or other technologies. But actually, the leadership piece is not going away. I also talked earlier about how ethics and social impact is starting to find its way into literature, and in that same report, it talks about the trends and moving more into a more fair and sustainable and equitable world. And for me, as a project manager, you have the ability to influence the direction of travel on projects. You have the ability to talk to your client or your official project leader, whoever it may be, about what you are trying to deliver and influence them to deliver responsibly. There's a great little movement going on at the moment, which is it stemmed from Bournemouth University, but it's growing nicely, called Responsible PM. I'll put the website on the screen. And that's aligned with delivering projects aligned with UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And what I really like about it, it talks about it's the concept of managing projects with conscious attention to the intended and unintended impacts of a project and its outcomes. So you're actually thinking about delivering projects now that deliver social, environment, and economic value without preference. And that's so different to where we've been in the past, which is all about sort of commercially led projects, getting a best bang for your buck. Individuals who won't work for companies that operate on those bases. You only have to look at the workplace to see how that's evolving, and the furore out there at the moment about, well, what's a good workplace going to look like when they come back. Companies aren't doing that because it adds to the bottom line. They're doing it because they recognise that people won't join that company in the future unless they can they're aligned with a more socially acceptable outcome. So for me, it's a really key period for project managers and project leaders, because we need to start influencing people and clients and organizations on their journey of developing responsibly. So some tips that I've seen through my career. So I've talked a lot earlier about knowing your style and adapting to others. So the saying that I've used in the past is seek to understand before being understood. Don't expect your team to understand you. Make it your job to understand them, and then get the best out of the situation. Learn from the team. Don't think that you have all the answers. Don't think that the people that should have all the answers are going to have all the answers. Try and encourage the team to operate in an environment where they're happy to contribute to ideas, put their thoughts into the mix. I remember a job that was on the Isle of Wight, which was a small school project, and the architect just couldn't get his head around this kind of how he was going to design this wet area in a classroom. And the glazing contractor happened to be waiting to sort of in the wings to sort of help out, and he kind of just piped up and went, actually, have you thought about doing it like this and sharing the space between two classrooms? And suddenly they took the wall out of the plan and had a shared area, and it all worked. And you think, well, that shouldn't have come from a glazing contractor. That's an architectural thing, but nonetheless, that's where it came from. So try and learn from the team when you can. We talked earlier about good leadership and being based on trust and respect and credibility. So walk the talk. Don't set a vision and then not live by it yourself. Don't agree values and behaviours that you're going to operate with your team and then do something completely different, because it just completely undermines your whole credibility in that role. So make sure that if you agree with the team how you operate, you operate in that fashion. I've always made it my business in project team meetings and through the development of projects to ask how people are feeling. In construction, as you can imagine, this big boisterous world of builders and people who have got to the top through being quite robust and maybe even bullies. Ask them how they feel is quite alien sometimes. Fortunately, the industry has changed a lot since I first started. But actually seeing how people feel about it might actually lead you to do something different. You can sit through a meeting and you can agree some actions, but if everyone's leaving the meeting at the end and they don't believe it's the right answer or they don't buy into it, what are the chances of that getting done on time and done to a good standard? Limited at best. They might do it at a push, but if actually people are asked how they feel about it and they understand why you've done it and why that you're moving forward, then actually there's a good chance they'll buy into it as part of the team. I talked earlier about the helicopter, so I won't go back over that. I left it in, but I made the point, get back up. That's the trick. The other thing is have confidence as a leader. Have confidence in the value that you bring to the party. I talked earlier about delivering a similar session to this to my grad course, and I was actually quite nervous because I pushed in our business. We came from a cost management background, so project management was seen as the poor cousin, and I pushed to get more project management modules included in that professional skills program. And it was the first time I was delivering something that was not that was new to their agenda, and I was really nervous about how it would land. I needed it to land well because I made such a big song and play about introducing these modules into the mix. And I didn't mind sharing with the team that I was a little bit nervous about how it would land. But ultimately, I had the confidence that the content, and as I am today, will be valuable to those guys as I hope it will to your students at some point in their career. It might not seem like it right now, and it might be a couple of years down the road, but I'm confident that the content of this will help in those situations. And it's important that I have that confidence, because then that allows me to give that to the team. It allows me to share, and hopefully the team will see the value in it, and then have the confidence to then share it with others. There's nothing worse, I think, as in a project management or project leadership role, when someone doesn't make a decision, when they go away, think about it, and still don't make a decision, and you procrastinate, and the team just kind of flounder, and they lose energy, they lose motivation, they lose direction. So I think you need to be brave. You need to make decisions. You need to offer that direction. Sometimes you might even get that decision wrong. You go, yeah, we were talking earlier about my son and his computer and just turning on the on button. He decided that he was going to turn the on button on, and if it went pop, it went pop. And it worked out for him in that case. It might not have always worked out, but he made the decision, and you can work with that. Sometimes you might not want to make the decision straight away, and you need to take it away and consult, but make sure you go back and make that decision. We talked earlier about confronting issues. I think as someone who is entering into their career at the early stages, this is probably the bit they're most worried about. How do you deal with confrontation, especially if it's someone that might appear to be more senior than you or have more credibility than you? The art to it is to not be afraid of it, and to conquer your fears and be brave and have that conversation. 9 times out of 10, the issue is not as bad as you think it is in your head. These issues don't generally go away. They don't disappear. You can't put it to the bottom of your inbox and hope that one day they'll magically disappear. They'll just fester and typically grow. So you've got to deal with confrontation in a professional way, in a way that allows you to come out with an agreement and a way forward. Now, people ask me, how do you do that? The advice I give is to prepare again. Think about what it is from their view. Why is it happening in the first place? And then, as I say, have that little bit of bravery that starts the conversation, because that normally is the bit that resolves it and stops it from growing. I had a lot. I shared with someone that I had a lodger that I used to get so frustrated. I used to come downstairs and that she would have left breadcrumbs on the work surface because she'd make a toast and go to work and didn't think two things about it. And every day I had to wipe those blimmin' breadcrumbs off the surface. I mean, I'm not exactly Mr. Clean and Tidy, but it drove me mad. And it went on and on and on. And I can't work out to this day why I didn't just say straight away, can you just wipe your breadcrumbs off the work surface? Because the moment I said it, it was so weird and pathetic. And she just went, yeah, all right. And from then on, no more breadcrumbs. Right? But for some reason, I didn't feel like I wanted to raise it. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was trying to impress her. I don't know what it was. But nonetheless, it was in my head. It was this issue that was a real non-issue. So be brave, address the confrontation. Again, aligns with walking the talk, and that credibility piece. We talked earlier about adapting your style. If you adapt your style and you try to be someone you're not likely to have sincerity and authenticity, and people will reflect that. So it is important. I use the words temporary adapting yourself temporarily earlier, and it's important to recognize who you are and be sincere about what you are doing and what you're trying to achieve. I also believe it's important to have humility, that you share things that enable people to get a relationship with you that's deeper than just the project activity that you're trying to achieve. What that means for me is that when people don't deliver as expected, I'm able to look them in the eye and go, you've let us down there, and they feel a connection and they feel actually bad about not doing it. And the chances are they're not going to do that again because they don't want to feel bad. You're not just an activity. You're a colleague. You're a trusted workmate. So quite often I'll share with people. I say the reason I need you to give this to me at 12 o'clock is because there's Tom who needs to finish this by 5, and it'll take him 3 hours. If you don't deliver it until 5 o'clock, Tom's going to have to work until 8 o'clock or midnight to finish it, and I don't want to ask Tom to do that. And straight away, the chances of getting that bit of information at 12 o'clock is much higher than it was 5 minutes earlier. So have humility, have that sincerity, build the relationship, and then you can actually start asking people to do things, and the chances are that they'll do it for you because they don't want to let you down. And that leads into the next bit, which is about aiming to be at the top of a pile of things to do. Nobody comes to work to fail. So when they're not delivering stuff on time, or they're not doing the thing you asked for, don't don't just get angry and feel resentful about it. Try and understand why it is that they're doing that. Why is it that they're not doing your bit of work in the time you agreed? Is there something that you can do to help with their workload if that's what's causing it? Is it because they don't believe in it and therefore they just don't want to do it? Is it a case of they can't do it and they just don't want to tell you and they're trying to put it off because they don't know how to deal with it, because it's their confrontation that they don't know how to handle, right? So it's your job to understand, why it's not getting done, but actually try and make sure it is something they want to do. And then just two more. Don't be afraid about being a little bit different, and bringing something new to the table that might pique someone's interest. Again, the world I live in, it's quite a well-trodden path of construction. You go through a process in a way. And I remember having a particular issue on it was a school project where it was overheating in this courtyard, and I just needed a team to sort out this one situation. So I introduced a technique called FILE, which is FILE, fact, ideas, logic, emotion. And it's just a kind of brainstorming process that stops you going into logic or whilst you're in the idea mode. Look it up. It's a great thing to have in your locker. But you should have seen the faces on these guys who have been around the block for 20 years. And I went, right, guys, today we're going to do FILE. And they just looked at me with this face, and what are you on about, Dave? It's ridiculous. We know what we got to do. We just got to take down the roof and change it to a cover and stop all the solar, and it'll be fine. So what we do, and sure enough, you go through this process, and the outcome's completely different. Right? It's enjoyable. You're able to have a bit of fun in doing it, and the outcome, the most important bit, was the right solution, having quickly looked at all different sorts of things. So it wasn't just because that person said we should do that. It was a well-considered outcome done in a way that was different, and people enjoyed it and participated, so you get the best out of them. So don't, you might feel like you're a bit nervous about doing it because you're putting yourself out there, but actually people will enjoy doing something a little bit different. And that comes to my last bit about introducing fun. There's a you need to introduce fun as the project leader and create an environment where people feel like they're able to have fun. It's unlikely that you as a project team member are going to feel confident to introduce fun in an environment that's not being permitted by your project leader. So for me, very early on, you need to introduce that fun into the mix. You need to give people the freedom to have fun and to introduce it themselves, such that people enjoy working on your projects. And that in itself can make a world of difference. I talked about Bolna Village earlier, the satisfaction we got. The teamwork on that was incredible because we just really enjoyed working in the environment that we set ourselves. We gave ourselves a challenge, we agreed how we would operate with each other, and we got so much out of it as a result. Whereas I can list off projects as long as my arm where it was just a functional outcome. We're paid to do that. We did it. We delivered it. On to the next one. They're not the ones that I reflect on when I think about my career and I think about what I enjoyed.